There is nothing wrong with your television set. Do not attempt to adjust the picture. We are controlling transmission.
All right, here we are. Episode 102, Hard Water Hammers.
This is always a fun show. You know, we missed last year. We already saw a couple
We
comments.
did. Somebody said something about it.
Yeah. Couldn't sneak that by anybody out there
No.
that's in the ice fishing world.
Nope.
But we're going to bring it back this year. Ice Fishing 101, Hard Water Hammers.
Yeah, why not? You know, we've got some other things to talk about that we haven't done in previous shows, and that is V-line blanks.
Absolutely, yeah.
We've got a pretty big inventory of V-line. We've got, what, 9 models in there?
9 different blank models, and then, of course, we're going to go over a couple of the colors and kind of how the different actions and powers, and then kind of how that relates to the applications for the lures and all that good stuff.
Sweet. All right, so types of ice blanks we're going to talk about, because we have solid carbon.
Right.
We've got solid fiberglass, and their actions and powers and everything varies even inside of those categories. Like, you know, not all fiberglass are one way or not all carbon are one way. And most of those actions and powers, from my understanding, you can tell me if I'm wrong here, most of those actions and powers are based on, you know, techniques, right? So are you looking for that negative bite? Ooh. We're gonna do what you can do hashtag negative bite tonight. We're gonna see how many times that we can say negative bite on the show. But in all seriousness, you know, you have a dead sticking thing. You know, you might be using jigging wraps. You might be using a tungsten jig with a spike on it, a little worm on it. You know, you got a bunch of different things, and the best part is they're fairly inexpensive.
They are.
And you can get a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Because you kind of need a bunch of them.
You do. There's definitely some intricacies within the ice fishing world.
Yeah.
We talked to our main guy, Buzz Butters, today.
Yeah.
He kind of clued us into some info. You know, we try to keep up with the ice fishing world, but
Oh, yeah.
You know,
we keep our ear to the ice.
We we do live in Florida. Not much ice.
No.
So we have to.
Thank God.
We got to make some calls, kind of get up to speed on what's going on.
Sure.
So we got the lowdown from Mr. Buzz Butters, and we appreciate his help as always.
As always. And we're going to do some talk about handle stuff. Yeah. Because there are ice fishing handles, and then there's just other handles that can be ice fishing handles, right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, same with guides, right?
Same with guides. And, you know, of course, a lot of the, you know, there's a ton of overlap, whether you're talking about a 7-foot freshwater rod or an ice rod. You know, wrapping a guide might be somewhat the same, but, you know, the components that go in ice rods, obviously you're dealing with ice, you're dealing with freezing up.
Yeah, that's the worst. That's the worst part.
Yeah.
To me.
Very, very cold. I'm cold just thinking about it. But there's certain guides that work much better than others, right? And even down to the handles, you know, you typically, you don't see as many reel seats actually on ice rods as you would with like a, you know, a normal freshwater rod.
Yeah.
Whether it's, you know, using bands to hold the reel to the handle. Reel seats just aren't that popular, but they have their place, and we'll show a couple examples of that.
Correct.
So we're going to go over kind of the handle layouts and all that, and of course, you know, like you mentioned, the guides as well.
Yep. Sweet. So make sure you guys have your notes ready for this evening, you know, taking notes. Because, you know, you might want to tell somebody one time I learned some things about ice fishing from people from Florida. And, you know, see.
They might look at you a little crazy.
I was going to say, and see what kind of reaction you get. All right, so we got a little bit of housekeeping. We have the next Advanced Rod Building Seminar is October 22nd. And you can't go because it's sold out.
Unfortunately.
Well, fortunately and unfortunately.
Unless you got a seat or a ticket.
Yeah, if you're already there, then you're in.
Great for you.
You're in with the group, but...
Yeah. So we had one earlier this year. I think
Yes.
it was in April, I believe.
I think so.
Somewhere around that springtime. That was kind of our first advanced rod building seminar at Mudhole. Very successful, had a lot of great seminars, great representation by different brands, whether it be Angler's Resource and Fuji,
Right.
American Tackle, and of course, we have one upcoming in October.
And aren't there some like special guests there? And I just, people that maybe don't work at Mudhole that show up and help out? Am I?
Yeah, you
Didn't-
mean like
didn't
the
they-
presenters?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know for this upcoming seminar, we have Bill Faulkner with,
Okay.
with Angler's Resource / Fuji.
Good old Bill. Yep.
Yeah, we have a ton of, we have a couple of our instructors from the rod building classes, Mike Kasiba.
Right.
I know he's doing static deflection and guide spacing.
Okay.
Which he is a brilliant person to go over guide spacing.
Yeah, glad he's doing it.
Yeah. We have a lot of, several people, including Mary Christie.
She's gonna be here? Excellent.
And Stephanie Aberhol, I think.
Don't ask me.
You're
You're asking me like,
sorry.
yeah, right. Yeah, but you're known for that, so it's
Yeah,
okay.
that's
You get
true.
a pass.
I always get called out.
Because you have the
It's
credit
all
card.
good.
That's it.
But they are doing some demos revolving around thread art and decorative wraps and stuff like that.
Perfect.
So whether it's guide spacing or advanced thread work or whatever it may be,
Yeah.
some great seminars going on. So, and if you were not fortunate enough to get a ticket to this upcoming class or seminar,
Mm-hmm.
I would venture to say we'll have another one upcoming in the future. Not sure of a date and a time yet, but
No, it's
I don't
gonna
think
be-
this will be our last one. So.
No. I don't think so either. So, yeah, keep an eye out for that. I'm sure that'll happen. But if you also have not been to a class or you would like to go to a class, mudhole.com/classes is how you go and get there.
Yep.
Now, 40,000 subscribers on YouTube. We're working towards, don't they give you like some kind of fancy plate or something when you get is it 100,000?
100, yeah.
All right, Jake, you got a lot you need to get, we need to up the
60,000
hair
more.
game or something. Maybe Phil needs to get a mullet or something, maybe. I don't know. We got to get to that 100. That would be cool. That would be a good one to have framed. So congratulations on that to the team. Now, you got some new products.
We do. We have 3 new products actually we're going to go over. So we're going to start with one that we actually kind of, from idea phase all the way to actually production, we made in-house.
Yes.
3D printed items, really cool collaboration by a couple team members here. So this is the CRB decal roller.
All right.
Which decal doesn't even give a full explanation because this thing actually works with more than just decals itself, whether you're doing long butt wraps and thread work, whether you're doing rod skins, abalone, snake skin, I could go on and on.
Well, I think to call it the CRB smoother downer thingy would probably not work as well as decal roller.
Yeah, gotta have a name, right?
Right, got to have a
So-
name. So we settled on decal.
So the idea, kind of came from the, applying decals. So
Yeah.
whether, scoot on over here to the zoom. I'll try to get this in
Whoop.
focus real quick.
Yeah.
So for instance,
Glad you took a big blank there.
yeah, we got our ice rod up here.
Yeah,
It's
how
a
many
great
decals are
example.
on that? Perfect, yeah. Uh-huh.
So anyway, if you are doing a decal, what's great about this is it comes with 3 rollers. So this one right here we have is the straight roller. So what you do is, obviously you'll kind of align your decal a little bit. Once you have it, all you gotta do is just barely affix it to the rod blank. You can come in here with your decal roller and actually smooth out each piece, and that's going to give you, it's going to get rid of all the bubbles, going to press out all the air, and you're not having to use your fingers to play with the decal. You don't have to worry about fingerprints, none of that stuff. It's much better than using, say like a burnishing tool or anything abrasive. These rollers actually have shrink tubing, put on them, so you get a nice smooth surface on the rollers, but it's also a little bit tacky.
Sure.
So when you roll it, your roller actually does roll and spins. It's not just in a singular spot or a fixed.
Yeah.
So you get that, rolling.
Yeah, it's not
action.
going to put like a smudge on it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to roll with it.
It's also not going to be abrasive to your decal.
Right.
It's not going to peel up the letters or wipe anything off or damage it. And we also, like I said, so this is the straight roller. We also have 2 other versions. We have the convex and the concave. So depending on whether you're doing thread, decals, you might kind of find out which roller that works better for one thing as opposed to another. We also sell the rollers individually, so if you want to buy more down the road, you know, if the shrink tubing wears out a little bit, which it's pretty durable, it's going to take a while to wear out, but if you need to buy rollers down the road, you
Yeah,
got
for
those
sure.
too. So,
Exactly.
pretty cool product. Like I said, we pretty much, from idea all the way to production, is in-house. 3D printed, the tool itself is, as well as the rollers, and then we just affix some shrink tubing over the top to give you that, you know, kind of grippy texture,
Yeah.
but yet also smooth.
And it does come with the Allen key
Yep.
to replace the roller, right?
Yeah, there's a bolt that runs from the top side here, right to the bottom of the roller on this side with a threaded insert. And like Chris said, we give you the Allen key to actually remove this bolt. And then, like I said, just slides right out. You take that roller off, put the new roller on, slide the screw back in with a roller. There you go. Good to go.
Easy. Easy peasy. I love it.
So pretty cool tool there. So that's our first new product. Second new product, which has been a hit so far, thread carriage magnets. So great response. We launched these last Monday. So think of this. We can get a zoom right up here on this, this thread carriage portion of our advanced hand wrapper. Mm-hmm. So these magnets come in a 4-pack. So you get, you know, you'll need 2 magnets per, basically per thread spool, right?
Right.
So on an existing hand wrapper, you're gonna notice this little area right here is typically where you'll find the spring. So what we've done is replace that spring with 2 opposing magnets. And what that does, as you can see there, they work against each other. And what that does is, if you guys have ever noticed when you're, you know, wrapping thread, or if you're pulling thread from your hand wrapper, sometimes that spring can get a little off balance, a little off kilter, and it can be a little, it can make your tension a little jumpy. This is super smooth.
I thought that was just too much caffeine.
Well, that could be it too, depends. So you get ultra smooth tension on your thread spool. You don't have to worry about that conical spring, you know, having the occasional jump. So super smooth. Obviously, you know, when you're wrapping a guy, the last thing you want is to have, like, you know, any kind of irregular tension on your thread spools. So this eliminates that completely. This works, these magnets work on whether you have an advanced hand wrapper, a rolling thread carriage, a 2-spool or a 4-spool rolling thread carriage, any CRB hand wrapper. I believe these even work on the core wrapper. Got to double check on that, but I know it works on the advanced hand wrapper, RBS TC2, TC4 thread carriages.
Yeah.
They also work on, if any of you guys have an American Tackle or like a Pac Bay power wrapper, horizontal carriage, not the vertical one,
right,
but the horizontal carriage. These magnets also work on that thread carriage. And one important tip is always put your, if you have a CRB product, put your magnets on the inside. That way, when you go to change out your thread spools, you don't have to take the magnets off.
Sure.
They can stay on there. They can live on there. And then, I'm going to show earlier, nice little clamshell pack or packaging that we did for these magnets. Like I said, comes in a 4-pack.
Okay.
So if you have a 2-spool wrapper, this 4-pack,
ready to go.
Got you covered.
Perfect.
If you have a 4-spool wrapper, you're going to need 2 of these packs.
Nice.
But yeah, like I said, they've been a hit so far. This isn't necessarily a new product or a new item that's to the market. It's been out there, sold by a couple people, but for the most part, this is the first that kind of works across the board for the majority of thread carriages.
Yeah,
So.
and I will say too, for somebody that uses a hand wrapper exclusively, you know, I personally don't have the room for the G2.
Right.
One of the things that I would catch myself getting aggravated with is, you know, when you are letting off tension and you're cutting your thread, sometimes that thread slips out of your hand and the thread tension rod is like, right? Then the thread kind of falls out and it gets around the spring. It's a good time to take a break. Like that is, it gets in the spring.
Step away for 10 minutes.
And we're gonna let the dog out just for a little bit and take a minute. But it's not gonna happen.
Word to the wise. Caution. These are very powerful magnets. They're around 13,
Yeah, 13.5 pounds.
13.5 pounds of pull
Yep.
per magnet. When you take these out of the package, they have plastic dividers between each magnet. Leave that divider on there until you actually go to use these magnets.
Yes.
And also, if you happen to separate them, be very cautious of laying one down and then getting close with the other. They will snap together and they could possibly break. So just be cautious.
Yeah.
Like I said, they are very strong magnets. A lot of pull, a lot of pound strength there.
Yeah.
So just be cautious with them. And they will absolutely add an upgrade to your bread carriage or your hand wrapper. So
Sweet.
I'm sure a lot of people in the chat have probably already picked them up.
They're
and hopefully
stoked.
using them.
Yeah, I mean, they're stoked. You know, everybody's, you know, given the thanks for explaining them in detail. Thank you for adding the Teflon in between. Somebody from Facebook, Barley Hops, says, yes, that's super frustrating. So evidently they've had to take a break or two as well with the spring. But yeah, so that's awesome. All right. We need to, well, we are going to do some giveaways tonight, as we usually do. And speaking of the magnets, aren't you going to give away some magnets?
Yes. We also have one last new product that we got to go over,
Oh, do
which
we?
is also
Did I jump ahead? Oh,
it's
yes,
also
all
our
right.
grand prize.
It's all right. All this ice has got my brain
I
frozen.
I know. So I got to step off camera. I'm going to bring this to the back here.
Are we going to do like, we're going to take it all out?
No, not all of it.
All right.
Just a couple things. So recently we launched a small series of all-in-one kits.
Yeah.
So this is basically you take a rod kit, or in the case of the ice kit, you get 3 rod kits,
Yes.
plus a startup kit, a core startup kit. Pair those together, and you get an all-in-one kit. So you
Okay.
get the rod kit plus a startup kit. Boom. You can build a rod. You got the supplies to go with it, all the equipment. Boom.
Perfect.
For the ice kit, like I said, you get 3 complete rod builds.
Okay.
Because they are a little bit less expensive, right?
Sure.
So we give you 3.
And you got to have it.
Gotta have it.
Can't have
So
one
in
ice
this
blank.
box, you know, we have stuff like
Plenty of packing.
We have our CRB rod dryer, right?
Okay.
All the equipment. We got a hand wrapper in here. What else you got? That's the core hand wrapper.
Yeah, because you said we got a core wrapper.
Yeah. There's a couple. There's the ice blanks.
All right, so the ice blanks, we've got the FIB 26UL. So that is going to be the 26-inch power noodle, right? Let me open this up. Oh, is it open to one end? No, it's not. The guys downstairs are going to be really happy that I cut this open. But, you know, we got to do it for the team.
Yeah, give it justice.
That's it, right? All right, so 26 FIB 26UL. This is a power noodle, really, really fast. We're gonna walk through all this stuff later, but this is what a power noodle looks like, real fast. We have the precision power noodle, which is, didn't you say, you can see how fast that guy is, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned that the precision power noodle is one of the top 10 selling blanks of
Correct.
every single blank that is sold at Mudhole.
Correct.
We've got 80,000 square foot of stuff here.
Right.
And we got 400 plus blanks easy. And this guy right here is a top 10 seller out of all of them.
It is.
And I fished it. It's cool. I'll show you one of the ones I built tonight. It looks like somebody from Florida built an ice rod. And the last one is a solid carbon blank, the CIB 28-inch UL ultralight. So, yep.
So you got 3 blanks. The
Yeah.
components to go with those are in the box. Actually, I got right there in that bag. We got
Yeah.
our IRHT
we're gonna show that
handle
tonight.
tubes, which we'll show in a little bit. Guide kits, rule seeds, grips. You get all your supplies, your Pro Coat, Pro Paste, masking tape, guide tubing. The list goes on, right?
And all of that goes in a regular all-in-one kit.
Yep, exactly. So
I can dig it.
we're not going to show everything, but this is the actual box that you will get if you order an
Yeah.
all-in-one ice kit.
And we're going to give this away tonight, right?
That's the grand prize for tonight.
I hope so. We'll tape it back up, make sure everything's in it.
Yeah.
Promise you.
So anyway, that wraps up our new products. Got the decal roller, really cool product. The magnets that have been a hit so far, and of course, the all-in-one ice rods,
Yeah.
plural.
Well, because we also, and you know, technically it's not a new product, but a new product to Mudhole over the past, what, 2 years, 18 months of the V-lines?
Yes.
So
Yeah,
we're gonna walk through those because we've never really given them a full shake and formally introduced them to everybody here on live. So we're gonna go through some favorites tonight. So although they're not technically new, we got to give Eric, you know, a shout out because there are some really, really cool blanks, and we're going to walk through those. So the giveaways are going to be what, though?
Yeah, so our third place prize for tonight, we're going to do the CRB thread carriage magnets. So we got the 4-pack here, along with one of our decal rollers, along with the additional rollers that it comes with. So that'll be third place tonight. We also have our second place prize of the night.
Yeah.
We're going to do an MHX solid carbon
Okay.
rod kit. So a couple different options as far as the models go within that, but yeah.
Sweet.
And the grand prize, as we mentioned, the all-in-one ice rod building kit.
Nice.
Now, we also have the 4 V-line blanks.
Yeah.
That, thanks to Eric,
Yeah.
he offered to donate tonight.
Perfect.
So we'll have to sneak those in, or maybe
We'll sneak one in. You want to do one now?
Let's do it.
Let's do one now. All right, so we'll go ahead before we get into the first demo that's types of ice blanks, because we've got a little bit of a cutaway showing where we went up and fished in Wisconsin. Let's go ahead, Uncle Phil, cue up the old giveaway train, and let's get one of the V-line blanks on there. Now, for those that are watching at the house, we've got 9 models here at Mudhole. So we're going to let you guys choose. And that giveaway is not correct. The giveaway showing on the screen says thread carriage magnets decal roller. We're actually, I threw the guys a curveball because we're giving away a V-line blank right now. So let's go ahead, give away a V-line blank. Again, live at mudhole.com is how you win this. And when you send me an email, we'll get you the one you want. So I'll let you start off with an easy one.
Roger Martin.
Perfect.
Not bad. Out of YouTube. Thanks, Roger. Appreciate your easy name.
Roger, thank you. And again, live at mudhole.com is how you get a hold of us. And again, after the show, don't do it now because you'll miss some cool stuff. Run over to mudhole.com. There's 9 models there. Pick the one you want. Shoot me in an email, and then we'll do it. All right. So we need to talk about types of ice blanks. We've got a number of different kinds. Fiberglass, carbon, solid fiberglass, solid carbon, things like that.
Yep.
Uncle Phil, you want to go ahead and you want to run a little bit of this footage? I'm not throwing too many things at you, am I? I know it's your first day.
Oh my goodness. What do you got on there, Chris?
I don't know, man. What do you think, Vince? It's a big old Wisconsin fish, that's for sure.
Good.
We're gonna find out.
It feels like I'm pulling up a car.
Oh,
You guys sink a bus out here or something?
you know, you never know. If it feels like a bus, it might be one. We're
I was
gonna
gonna
find
say,
out.
he took a ton of line.
Yeah, he did. It might have some teeth on it. A huge shiner though.
We'll be sure we'll lip him.
All right, we're getting close. Be careful. You got the head in the hole.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
goodness.
dude! You guys got to see this.
Oh, just look at his mouth.
Not quite done yet, huh?
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Look at that! Oh, unreal!
Dude, pounded, buddy.
Oh
my
God! Way to go, Chris!
Dude. Got him?
Yeah.
All right.
Woo. How about that guy?
How about it? Let's measure.
The old Wisconsin dentist out here.
Wisconsin stroke.
There it is.
Wisconsin stroke.
There you go, guys.
The 42M bus?
My gosh. All right, cool. Let's get him back.
Look at that release. Woo! She good.
Now we're talking, boys. Let's go.
That was great.
Woo!
Oh my gosh.
Hey, it's not so cold anymore.
That was good stuff.
Woo!
That was good.
All right, so what do you think?
I need my jacket. That's what I need.
I'm telling you. What you couldn't see is I looked a little bulky there, but I had so many clothes on, and I had flasks of Jim Beam and Maker's Mark. They were all stuffed in there.
That's great.
I was kind of like, I got on the ice, and I was like, does this jacket make my flask look big? You know?
Yeah.
So, so I caught a Wisconsin Barracuda, as I'll call it. Some of you guys call them Northerns, but that was pretty fun because we caught that on the CIB 42M, and we caught that on a tip-up,
Okay.
I believe is what they call it. And so for those of you that don't know what that is, you actually take a live shiner, like we have here in Florida, and we catch bass on them and whatnot. Take a shiner, got a wire trace, a leader, and a hook. Hook the shiner, send him down onto the ice, and then the rod is set in this rod holder. Then it's got a flag on it. So when a fish eats it, it's going to take off, and it shoots that flag up. And of course, you kind of can hear it, but then you can also see it. And I just got there first. That's all there was to that.
There you go.
We shot off across the ice because we had a bunch of holes drilled all over it, and we were just going from one to the next.
Yeah.
And I just flat out got there first.
Yeah.
That's all there
Well,
was to that.
Jokes aside, that's an incredible fish, especially when coming out of a hole that's 2 or 3 feet wide. That massive. I don't know how long that fish was. 35, 40 inches, whatever it was.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty fun
cool.
experience.
It was
Yeah.
cool. It was very, very good. So, like they said, go watch the rest of the episode after the show. It's pretty cool. We did all kinds of cool things, doing catching panfish. We did some crappies, some bluegill. We caught that northern. Caught some perch. It was just a really kind of cool experience because we actually fished on one of the bays just outside of Madison, Wisconsin. So it's a really weird feeling to park at a boat ramp and then just walk down the boat ramp out onto the water. But it was neat because that's where the University of Wisconsin is in Madison. So you see all the cool buildings and all that stuff. And then you just see a bunch of crazy people out on the ice drilling holes in it. And we were one of those people. So we had a blast.
Awesome.
I will say, we were using, you know what a flasher is?
Yeah.
So a flasher is this round, depth and fish finder.
Yeah.
And it has all these red flashing
Sonar
lights.
kind of.
Oh, it was.
Very,
It was like
very
the
basic sonar.
The OG sonar, right?
But still used to this day.
Yeah, and it's super accurate. If you know how to use it, you're good. If you don't know what you're doing, you might as well just leave it at home.
Sure.
But it's interesting because you're staring at this flasher for hours. It's like rod, hole, sitting on a bucket, and you got a flasher. And then you're just looking at it staring at it. And of course you can see, it's a circle. So you can watch, as you drop your little tungsten jig down or whatever it is, you can watch it go down and you can watch a fish come up to it and do that, set the hook or whatever. But we stared at those flashers for so long that I remember laying in bed at night and just having my eyes closed and still seeing
Yeah.
the whole deal. I was like, all right, we're going to do it again tomorrow. So thankfully it wasn't -15 when we were there.
Right.
But anyway, so that was much longer than it needed to be. Let's talk about blanks.
Yeah, let's do it. So, like you mentioned earlier, we have 9 models in the V-Line series. We also have multiple models between MHX, like you said, whether it's a carbon, fiberglass, an MHX. We also have, CRB, whether it be the Brim Buster or any of those, a lot of shorter models in the CRB series.
Yeah.
But tonight we decided to, in the past episodes we've kind of highlighted CRB, MHX. Let's do a little bit of different spin. Let's talk about V-Line tonight.
Love it.
Especially because a lot of these blanks come in some really, really cool colors.
And I even like the names.
I like the names too, yeah.
I'm gonna do
So,
this one.
Yeah, the orange one is.
So I think that this one is actually called Hurt Your Eyes Orange.
Burn Your Eyes Orange.
Burn Your Eyes
Yep,
Orange.
close enough though.
And I tell you what, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that one's the needle, referred to as the needle. This one I got here, a little bit tough to probably catch on camera, but this is the chameleon purple and green. So when you look at it, you see, you hit the light a little bit, you see some green, you see some purple, changes back and forth. You might catch that in the camera if we can get some good light on it. But anyway, so
it's
this
a really cool. I mean, I think it would really be one of those that if you experiment with different thread colors, that's really going to get it.
Yeah, yeah. So this model is the high-class hooker in the walleye version, because we also have the panfish version, and they are a little bit different. Mainly the power difference. You know, the panfish version is going to be your light power. Yeah. This walleye version is going to be, I think it's a medium power.
Okay.
But these are great for sticking in a rod holder. This is primarily both the panfish and the walleye are used mainly for the dead stick technique.
Yeah, and which is unique because we didn't do that when I was there.
Right.
So the dead sticking technique, as I understand it, is, and this is kind of where the handle gets a little more unique in terms of building a handle for the way that you're going to fish this, and not just like the way it fits your hand. But so this is the high hooker, right? Or what is it called?
Yep, high-class hooker.
Okay, so the high-class hooker in a walleye and in a panfish.
Correct.
The powers are different because the way that you fish this when it's a dead sticking is you're most always going to use some sort of a live bait, a minnow, depending on if it's small, if it's large. You might be fishing it in like 40 foot of water, and you leave it in a rod holder that is parallel to the ice. And it might just be like wire frame rod holder, right? So you're just like that. And you've got, you're fishing 40 foot of water, we'll say. You got a split shot, and then you just have your regular, you got like a dorsal finned hook minnow. Go straight down. He's down there swimming around. Sometimes if it's like panfish and perch and stuff, I'm told you fish like really close to the bottom, or if you're marking fish on your sonar, that's where you're going to set it. He's down there swimming around, and then because the action is slower, what you want is you want that fish to swim up and eat the minnow and just swim off.
Yep.
And let that rod just load up just ever so slightly, because it's not a situation of you're not going to get a negative bite, which is a loaded rod going straight. You're not going to get something that's going to be violent, that's going to like trigger a tip up or something. But you're just going to get a rod and a horizontal, and it's just going to load like this. And it's just going to keep loading. And the tip of the hookers are so soft that the fish can swim off with it. And even at the depth, he's got a little bit of room there to swim off, let it load, and he's got no idea that you're there.
Yep.
Because if he pulls on it and he feels you, he's going to drop it.
Right.
So load it up, and that is dead sticking.
Yep. Like I mentioned, most of the time, almost every time, if you're dead sticking, your rod's going to be in a rod holder. So one thing you do a little bit differently than other ice rods or other techniques of ice fishing is you want to make your handle section a little bit longer. Because most of these rod holders are not going to hold, or they're not going to mate up necessarily to a rod that has a very short grip. You need a little bit of extra length, right? So
this is not a dead stick handle section.
Yep.
This is something you're actually physically going to hold, put your reel in it. But if this is going into literally any type of rod holder, if it is a tube style rod holder, if it's wire, if it's whatever, this is going to be a major pain to get in and out of that rod holder, because the handle is so short, it's going to catch on the edge of it. It's just going to be a mess. Yep. So we were described as like, a longer Tennessee-ish style handle. I mean, granted, the blank is only 36 inches, so you're not going to have an 18-inch handle on this, but not a little tiny short or the width of your hand handle like some of these.
Yep. So just a little pro tip there that we we got from our main guy, Buzz.
Old Buzz.
Old Buzz. And yeah, the dead sticking technique was, I don't think it's one we've really referenced in past ice fishing
No,
shows.
and I've never done it.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a new experience for us.
Yeah.
But, like we said, the colors on these blanks is incredible. We also have, let me get let's see, is that the glow? Is that
The
glow
white
one?
one is like a glow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the Turbo Glow, I think it's what it's referred to. So this model is actually the panfish version of the high-class hooker. And you guys can see that. I mean, that thing really got some bend to it,
Yeah.
right? But very, very fun. One thing to keep in mind with the ice blanks is that most of them, unless you get up into, the 48-inch, 50-inch blanks, are going to be very small diameter, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to get into a little bit, in a few minutes here, some tips and tricks around the handle section, because in my opinion, that's kind of the guides are one thing, but the handle section can be very tricky with diameter, with real seat, no real seat, and all that good stuff. But as far as the blanks go, we have a great selection depending on if you are doing panfish, if you are doing walleye, even up to, we have in the V-Line series like the King Carbon, that's where you're getting up into your, larger walleye, your lake trout, those species that are a little bit bigger, even your northerns,
Yep.
There's obviously certain blanks, whether it be like the walleye wrecker is a great one, hence the name, obviously that's going to be a really good one for walleye. Smallmouth, that's where your, your number 5, number 7 jigging wraps come in.
Right, and I think that's an interesting thing that needs to be mentioned, because something like a walleye wrecker from V-Line is going to be fished completely different. The action, the power, everything is different from what we were talking about with the hooker, because that is a dead sticking blank. Whereas the walleye wrecker is something that you are going to put medium to small spoons on. You're going to put that number 5, number 7 jigging wrap, things like that. So you're going to fish that completely differently. And for some of those at home that have not had a V-Line but have had some of the mudhole or MHX blanks, the 36 walleye wrecker from V-Line is very similar to the CIB 42L, but it is a little stiffer. So if you have a CIB 42L, or you were thinking about building that, and you want something a little touch stiffer, and you want to explore a little bit into the V-Line, we went through some of these, checked them against some of the MHX, talked to Buzz, he gave us some comparisons, and it's going to be, the walleye wrecker is going to be a little bit stiffer than that 42L.
Yeah.
So,
Last but not least, as far as blanks go, I want to talk about a really, in my opinion, an interesting kind of trend that's going on with ice blanks.
Yeah.
And that's the length.
okay.
So, for the most part, if you look at CRB and MHX blanks, you'll see, there's obviously, we have several versions of like a 30, a 32, a 36. We also have some down to like 17, 20, 17
Right.
inches. I was curious and I asked Buzz, what's going on with the links? Like, what, when, where, how, right?
Yeah, what are we missing?
And with the V-Line blanks, you'll notice that I think there's one model that's 34 inches, the majority are 36, and then you have some that are, upper 40s to 50.
Yeah.
I said, why, what's going on with the links? Why would somebody want a 36 or, whatever? Interesting tidbit from him, it majority has to do with, or primarily has to do with the, the tents or, the shacks that ice fishermen use.
Yeah.
And the space or the size of those shacks. So, whether it be, a couple years ago, 5, 10 years ago, the shacks were smaller. So most guys were kneeling over the holes. They're, very close contact with the water. They needed shorter rods. But now, the shacks are bigger. You got more space, more breathing room. You can actually sit a little bit further away from the hole and use a longer rod. So, little interesting tidbit there that I found, because when you look at, freshwater, saltwater, that trend is kind of similar. Longer rods, longer blanks over the past decade or two have been
When
fairly
I was
popular.
a kid, you were fishing like 6 foot and 6'6".
Yeah.
And now we're out there throwing,
Yeah.
8-foot crankbait rods.
Exactly. So obviously, that's dependent more on the technique, in my opinion, as far as the fishing goes.
Yeah.
It's interesting that the gear or the tools of the trade actually influence the length of the rod more than actually the technique itself. Yeah. So kind of cool.
For sure. One more thing, I want to talk about the power noodle situation, because I really enjoyed fishing the power noodle when I went up there. It was just the way we fished. So we were doing a lot of pan fishing. We were using the tiny little tungsten jigs. They were like a 4 millimeter with a size 16 in it. And you're using little like mealworms, or some of them, they call them spikes, things like that. And you're using the power noodle. I was using the 36-inch because it was we had it to where we could sort of do some hole hopping. And we would go out and drill a bunch of different holes. And it was sort of modified hole hopping, like not necessarily just walk up and go, nope, and go around like that. But we had so many, I would tote the flasher around and check and go through. But the cool thing about the power noodle that I had was this one. And I liked the length on it. I liked that it was incredibly, soft. It was, to me, and again, you can take this with a grain of salt with the ice. I enjoyed it because I felt like I could do so many different things with it. Like, no, we didn't fish a lot of spoons and jigs or like jig and wraps and things like that. But I felt like I could cover different water heights very good. I felt like it was super soft to a point that I could put a spring bobber on it, check for a negative bite. I could also sit in front of a flasher and really, work the jig with the spike on it and entice a fish to bite without having to do a lot of movement. I feel like I caught a lot of fish using it. So this is the PPN, so the Precision Power Noodle.
Yep.
Very, very fast out here. I mean, this is, very quick. It shuts off pretty good. In kind of contrast, but sort of similar, is the Gnarly Noodle.
Correct.
From V-Line.
Yeah,
so
we
which color did you
neglected
pull
that.
for that?
So with that one, I actually do not have that one listed on my cheat sheet here.
Perfect.
I'm sorry.
No,
I
it's all good.
apologize.
But what I will say about the Gnarly Noodle, if you have the PPN 36, the Gnarly Noodle is also 36 inches. It is also moderate fast. I think that the tip is softer. Now, I haven't fished it, so I can't say that I think it's softer in terms of fishing, but when we checked it and felt it and things like that, I did feel like that it was a softer tip. So if you are accustomed to the Power Noodle and you like it, and you want a similar blank but maybe a little softer tip, this PPN 36 and the FIB 26 UL that comes in the kit, right? Those they have a little bit stiffer backbone in terms of like hitting a fish and setting the hook. Now, granted, you're not hitting him like a flipping stick, right?
Sure.
You're not going to snatch him through that hole. But the Power Noodle from V-Line, the Gnarly, is probably a little softer in the tip and probably doesn't like shut off as quickly as the PPN 36 that you get here. So just to give you guys an idea of that. And that's partially kind of what we wanted to do with having V-Line and having, the ones that we know so well and that we've sold for years and that you guys have bought. And if you haven't bought a V-Line, there you go.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of people in here that love them. So we are super stoked.
Yeah, the great thing about ice blanks or ice fishing as a whole is it's very economical. I'm not going to use the word cheap because cheap's not what I'm trying to describe. They're very economical. Most of these V-Line blanks are in the 15 to low 20s, 22, 25.
Yeah.
You can pick up 3, 4, 5 blanks. You're not breaking the bank. And same goes with the guides and even the handle configuration, which again we'll get into a little bit later on. you know, you can build up an arsenal of 10 to 15 ice rods for a couple $100. You know, you're not breaking the bank there. So.
Right. And from what we saw, you know, now granted, depending on where you're fishing, you can only have a certain amount of lines in the water. You know, so you can't, per person. So I know that, you know, maybe South Dakota is one way, Wisconsin is one way, and, you know, some places you can have 3, some places you can have 2 or 4 or whatever. But I was amazed at, there was a lot of similarities between the guys we went ice fishing with and the guys that we like tournament bass fish with, in terms of, you know, you open up that rod box on a bass boat and you're like, oh, you got 27 in here, huh?
Yeah.
You're really going to use all those. And you're like, well, you know.
Just in case.
And kind of the same thing with the ice deal, because, you know, we encountered an area that had vegetation. Then we'd walk a little bit and we'd encounter an area that had different, you know, might be a deeper hole, or we might use this. And I will say, it is nuts. You saw the clip there where we're riding out on a trailer on a four-wheeler. It is nuts to be driving a four-wheeler and have a 10-inch or a 9-inch Humminbird or whatever it was on the four-wheeler with the lake map software that you literally just took off your boat, put it on a four-wheeler, and you ride out there, and then you're like, all right, cool, well, see, there's a hole right here, and then you get the drop off and that taper and point, and that should happen. And then you start drilling holes, and you're looking at the lake map on the four-wheeler, and then you're putting putting your flasher in, and you're fishing it like you're in a boat, but you're just fishing it through holes. So yeah, we had a sled full of stuff, but it was just like having 25 rods in the box when we're going bass fishing. You got a crankbait rod, you got a flipping stick, you got a jig rod, and it's kind of the same way here. It was just, you know, it just was a little trippy for me.
Yeah, different world, for sure.
Different world doesn't even
Pretty cool, though.
Doesn't even talk about it. All right, let's give something away. We're going to do, this time, we're going to do the CRB thread carriage, magnets, and decal rollers. So, sorry I threw you guys for a loop last time, but yeah, let's give away some magnets and the decal roller.
Let's throw in a blank, too. Why not?
Are we going to do a blank, too?
Let's do it.
All right, so we're going to do a blank, too. Let me make a note of that. All right, all right, all right.
So, magnets, decal roller. Oh, okay,
Here
Bill.
we go. Hunter, I'm just going to leave you with that one.
Oh,
Guys,
Bill.
let's go get a drink, and we'll come back when he's done with this name.
Bill Ploder? Ploder? I don't know. That's a tough one, Bill.
You sound like you're asking us.
I don't know.
We have no idea.
Bill, hit us in the comments with a little pronunciation of your name.
Yeah, give us the,
yeah, whatever you call that. Yeah.
Right.
The
Yeah.
text to speech.
Right. We're not even going to we're not going to have Jake put that in TikTok, because no telling what the TikTok voice would come in.
Yikes.
All right, so that was magnets, decal, and a V-line. Sweet. Just taking notes here, kind of keeping Hunter honest. You know, we gotta.
I'm waiting. I don't see any comments from. No.
Yeah, everybody's like, yeah, congrats, Bill.
Bill. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Nice job, Bill P. Woohoo. All right. So we talked about the blanks. And the blanks are a very integral part of this. But for as simple as the handles can be, and when I mean simple, I mean a piece of EVA glued to a blank with some reel bands here. Somebody mentioned in the comments, yes, these are like a Tractor Supply Company style. These are castration bands. So you can get those. We do not carry these. They come in a number of different colors, but that's what that is. They're great for EVA and some different things. They're really great for all of them, but we also will show you that you can also use something called, we call it rescue tape, and it's tape that like sticks to itself. You'll see it in like plumbing and things like that. You can run into an Ace Hardware or a Home Depot and get it. But for the EVA, the castration bands are nice. And again, a simple handle can just be a piece of EVA with a butt cap glued onto a rod blank. But Mr. McCamey is going to tell you another tip.
So we have this IRHT ice rod handle tube. It's a 10-inch fiberglass tube that you don't have to use on every single ice rod, but if you have a very, very small diameter ice rod, and for multiple reasons, you want to either, you can actually, what a lot of guys do, they will actually take this tube and they'll build their handle, the full section, real seat and all, or no real seat, to this tube, and then this tube gets glued onto your ice blank.
Yes.
Now,
And the OD of that tube just so happens to be 250.
250.
So it matches the cork. And all
Cork,
that.
exactly, yep. So, like I said, most of the diameters of your ice blanks are going to be sub 250, right?
Yeah, until like some of the walleye wrecker and the
Sure.
power noodles and stuff, they're enough to, you know.
But if you are dealing with a, this for example is a CIB 28 UL, so it's an ultralight, very, very small diameter.
Yes.
It's not in your best interest to try to build your handle directly onto the rod blank. The diameter of your grips or your reel seat, they're just going to be too large. It makes it very difficult.
Yeah.
Also, for a lot of these blanks, you actually want more structure, a little bit more rigidity in your handle section. You don't want this ice rod to bend all the way down to here, which it will.
Yeah, some will
and
for sure.
You don't want that in a fishing scenario necessarily. You want a little bit of rigidity in your handle section.
Sure.
That's where this tube comes in handy. You can cut this to whatever length you want. Like I mentioned, it comes in a standard 10-inch length, so you can cut it down to 8 inches, 6 inches, whatever you need to work with the grips, the reel seat configuration that you have going on. So like I said, mount your grips and reel seat or no reel seat to this tube, and then in turn, build up your rod blank with masking tape, arbor it up to where you have, if you are using the full 10 inches, you're going to want probably at least 4 to 5, anywhere between 3 to 5 tape arbors on the blank that will, in turn, this tube will be glued up onto your rod blank. So not only does it make it easier for gluing up your grips and etc., but also it gives you more structure in your handle section.
Yeah.
So kind of a 2-in-1 there.
Well, and also for a third part, the IRHT can be used to extend a blank.
Correct, absolutely. Because like I said earlier, most of the V-line blanks are 34 inches and up. Several, if not majority of the MHX and CRB blanks are sub 30. So if you do want to, take a 26 or 28 inch blank and either add, 2, 4, 6, 8 inches,
Right.
You really don't need a ton. I'd say between probably 2 to 4 inches, 2 or 3 inches minimum.
Right.
Between
of the blank
of
inside.
the blank inside the tube.
Okay.
So you could either mount it, the full tube directly onto your rod blank, like that.
Yep.
Right, so the full length, so basically got, end to end right there. Or you can actually extend this tube, and as long as you have a minimum of 2 to 3 inches of coverage of overlap at the end, you could gain an extra, 6 to 8 inches if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Now, don't
Which
get,
I think is a great thing.
yeah,
Oh, by the way, Eric Vossler is in the chat.
nice.
Nice. So he was actually talking about, because somebody asked, do you really have to use the IRHT? Eric said, not necessarily, but I do recommend it. I'll put that comment
Yep.
up. Now,
Spot on.
one really, really telling way, if you need to use the IRHT or not, is, does the IRHT even fit on the blank?
Correct.
Because there's a number of blanks that, for example, I'll just take this one. This one clearly, the butt diameter on this blank clearly will not accept. I mean, you can see that's where the IRHT gets to, okay? So yeah, that's gonna be a no, right? But the one that you were using before, or I'll pull this one here, which looks like it might be close, and that butt section is fairly rigid, but if you check it, you're like, well, you could still do it, so I'd probably use it, especially if you're using a material like cork
Right.
that when it flexes, you'll break it. So that's a really good point in terms of like, do you need it? Will it work? It's just one of those things is, does IRHT fit on it? If it fits on it, I'd use it. And if it doesn't fit, then,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, some guys will use like an arrow shaft, you know, because that inner diameter of an arrow shaft can be larger. And if they're building a lot of handles and they're in a mass production type thing, they know exactly the diameter of that. They can just bore every handle component to that size, glue it, and then all you got to do is glue that section on.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about, we talked about the IRHT. Let's talk about maybe the different types of handles, you know.
Like a, do we need a reel seat or not?
Yeah, so you've showed the all EVA with the bands. You know, obviously your reel feet will slip under these bands. It's going to hold it very tight. Don't have to worry about that. You can also go with very similar version. This one's made out of cork, which has a more than likely probably a thread finish or a thread epoxy coat over top of the cork.
Exactly.
Even added a little bit of split grip here, a mini split grip, I guess you could say.
For sure.
Using the bands again, right?
You got to get that fighting butt.
Yeah,
so you really
exactly. And what's cool
work
about this one, I'm going to flip it around. What's awesome about this one is you actually incorporated the MHX logo, right? Which, you know, if you pull up this one, similar theme, but you've actually incorporated abalone, and also we have a strip of a decal right there as well.
Yeah, I had the guys downstairs custom make that decal. I just gave them a height I wanted it and a length to fit that tubing, and then I put the edges, I put the text on the edges because here in the center is going to be covered with, you know, if you're using tape or bands or something like that. So that was just a kind of an interesting thing that I was like, yeah, I'm just going to try this to see if this works. And I thought, I mean, I really like it. You know, I just tried it on a couple of them. I could do a better job now that I have gone through the process, but I did like that. I thought that was fun.
Yeah, that's a good tip to kind of incorporate your decal, if you can, onto your handle section because, again, most ice rods are extremely small diameter. You're not going to be able to fit a decal because it's going to overlap itself. So
For sure.
So a reel seat option, which again, doesn't seem to be commonplace in ice fishing, but in certain aspects, it's got its place. So on this one, we got a Fuji IPS.
Yeah, that's the ergo, right? The ergonomic.
I think it's the
Fuji?
IPS.
Yeah.
So we got, you know, little pieces of cork. I think these are the nubbins. I think that's maybe
Yeah, it's a nubbin.
so 2 pieces of cork, front and back, just to give you a little bit of hold on both sides of the reel seat. I see you did an up-locking version, so different, a little bit different handle there. And of course, we have a little wild card here.
Yeah, me being ridiculous.
Hey, that's cool. Is this built on an IRHT? You remember?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have to me, it looks like a fly grip.
That is, it's a cigar fly grip.
Cigar fly grip on the front, probably a CS65.
Yep.
We have a reel seat insert.
Yes. So
Okay.
that's the reel seat insert that goes in like a TVS or TVS.
Yeah, TVS.
Yep.
Okay. And then, of
A
course,
nubbin.
little nubbin on the back there.
Yep.
So gives you a lot of handle towards the front of your reel section. Obviously, the insert here, we don't have a reel seat,
No.
but
I put a fly reel on it.
got a fly reel on there. And is that where the tape comes in?
Yeah. So for this one, I think I used the silicone rescue tape on this. You can also use, for the thinner diameter, it was nice to either use electrical tape or the rescue tape. I like the rescue tape because it's fairly clear and it shows the carbon weave here or it shows the abalone on this one. But yeah, one of the guys up there was like, oh, I actually will use a fly grip sometimes. And a reel seat, fly reel seat. And I was like, well, that's all you had to say to me. So yeah, I put a fly reel on there and I liked it because when we were pan fishing, we would use one of these, like an inline reel like this.
Okay.
Or we used a fly reel because when you're using one of those little tiny tungsten jigs and the little worm on it, you don't want it to go down and then spin like sometimes when you introduce twist into your line if you have a spinning reel.
Yep.
So this is a really, really cool reel. They got a custom paint job by one of Buzz Butter's buddies. You could say that 3 times fast. But I also had a fly reel, and that's why I built that handle and that reel seat, which, kind of looks a little ridiculous. And it wasn't as ergonomic as maybe I thought it was going to be, but I still had fun ice fishing with a fly reel. So.
And then last but not least, I think the other ones are all kind of the same. We got a CFX style, I think, handle there. But this one, a little bit different. We got an SK2 spinning skeleton 2-piece seat here in the middle.
Yep.
And of course, on both sides, we have
A little marbling vibe.
little marbling. Is that over maybe cork?
That's over cork.
Cork. And then the cork is magic marbled, and there's an epoxy over the magic marble itself.
Yes.
And then, of course, you got the thread wraps to match, along with the blue ring insert guides. So,
Some OG.
yeah, some cool color effects there. But as mentioned earlier, you'll see a common theme with Tennessee handles or variations of Tennessee handles in the ice fishing world.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that has to do with, reel seats typically will have a metal or aluminum or some type of metal hood, which, if you're in cold weather, that gets cold.
Something else.
So that's not what you want to be holding all day long while you're
Right.
ice fishing out there. So,
For sure.
yep, most of them are going to be Tennessee style or variations of that kind of handle.
Yep. Let me see what kind of. Here's a question. This is exactly why I was going here. So Garrett has a question. Do you have a recoil type guides that you can flick the ice buildup off? I actually have on that one. These are actually the recoil ice guides. And years ago, I guess because of the titanium nickel, give them a little background. There you go. So due to the titanium nickel alloy in a recoil guide, if you get down way into the negatives, if you are crazy enough to go out in that kind of weather, if you bend those guides, they're supposed to recoil back and stand back up. If you get them too cold, they don't have the same recoil properties that they do when they're warm. So the ice guides now, they have adjusted the alloy in the ice version. And did you see what they take down to -20?
-4.
-4? Okay. So cold. And that's where they're using the ice version of the recoil guides. And of course, that one actually, I have the line through spring bobber there too. Because somebody earlier was asking about the, I wonder, let me see if it was on here. It was this one. Nick had a question. You have the hollow blanks for the line through blank with a spring bobber at the end. We do not have any line through blanks, but we do have where the spring bobber is an actual line through spring bobber, which is kind of interesting. See if you can get that on there. Got some storms coming in this evening, so that is a line through spring bobber. And it's pretty cool. It's very, very sensitive, and the line actually runs through it. So, yeah. All right, that is that. And the question, I'm not exactly, let's see. Teresa, what is the advantage of extending the tube that goes over the rod, or why would that be something to consider? So what we were talking about earlier, when we were talking about blanks, and how that blanks are trending a little longer for the size of the shack that you're sitting in, or for those that are doing hole hopping, and if the fish are really getting beat on, if you stand over that hole and throw a shadow down or do whatever, you might spook some fish. So some of the guys are using, a 40-inch plus up to a 54. I believe Eric has a 54, right? V-Line's got a 54?
Possibly.
I think if you're still in here, Eric, let us know if you do. I think you have a 54. I know you have a longer one than the 40, but I think it's 54. Anyway, so the hole hopping rod, if you don't have a blank that long, but let's say you've got a 42 or you've got a 36 that you just love. You love the action, you love everything about it, but you're like, man, I wish it was a little bit longer. You can use the IRHT and extend it out there. So, Teresa, that is why you would want to do that. So, not only to use it to mount the handle and stiffen it up, but just to create a little extra length on that blank. So, yep. Cool.
All right, all right.
What you got?
I think we need to.
Oh, yeah, the 54 gnarly noodle. I thought we had seen the 54.
Gotcha.
So,
That's actually one. That's a model we need to add.
I was going to say, we're going to have to place an order for that, Eric. So,
we gotta add that model.
make sure
we got
you
the
call
36
because he needs to buy some of those.
Yep. Gotta get that one added. That's going to be a really popular model for sure.
That's it. Cool. And real quick, on the handle, I don't know where that went, but this handle that I did a couple of them. All right. This is the carbon tubing that you can buy from Mudhole. I think we sell it in a 12-inch piece.
12 and 60 inches.
Okay. So I took a 12-inch piece and I cut it in half. Then, along with those pieces, we have already manufactured arbors that fit the inner diameter of the tubing size that you buy. Because we have a 920 and a 960?
980 and 920.
980 and 920. So we already have graphite arbors that fit those. So you don't have to worry about making tape arbors that big. So, and in addition, we have EVA caps. The one on the front here has a hole in it. It's already done. The one on the back does not have a hole in it, okay? So it's made to fit this tubing. So then all I did was I cut abalone to fit on here, and then that's where I added, Justin, I'm sorry, bud. So that's where I added the decals. I know it's kind of reflective because these things are a little blingy, but added the decals, and then I just did multiple coats over the epoxy, or the abalone, I'm sorry. Yep. And I will say the trick to this that I need to do a better job of when I do it again. So you've got to get epoxy on the end here, all right? And you got to do enough that you don't feel the softness of the EVA underneath it. Because if you squeeze hard enough and there's not enough finish and it's not coated, you can sort of feel it like compress. It doesn't really damage it, but what you also have to do on this situation is I have an IRHT inside of this, but I left the IRHT long and used the clamp style in the rod dryer. So I can coat this entire handle except for the cap. And then I just, however many coats I did there, I left the IRHT long. I then cut the IRHT and glued the EVA on the end of it. And then I had to do the like dip and dry method. I think it turned out good, but I would just take a little more care when doing that, and I might even change it. I might actually like leave the EVA and coat over all of it, leave the IRHT long, and then maybe put a rubber cap. So like this rubber cap here on the end, this one has a rubber cap. So I don't know, I might completely coat everything and then rubber cap the end of it at the end, maybe just so that this doesn't get marred up, and then also it has a little bit better of a coating. But anyway, so if anybody wants to try that and wants to improve on it, those are some of my thoughts on how I probably could do that a little bit better. But
Cool.
we were getting ready to go on a nice trip, so
Yeah.
I just,
Either way, I think they look fantastic.
oh well,
Yeah.
aren't you so
Wire chuck. That's what you're looking for
A
earlier.
wire chuck. Yes, exactly. All right, cool. Do you want to give something away before we start
Let's
talking
do it.
about guides?
Giveaway technically number 3, but number 2, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
MHX solid carbon ice rod kit. And that does include a couple different models. So,
Yeah.
whichever one you want in there.
Sweet. All right.
Hopefully you got an easy name.
Yeah.
I think like a Paul Smith or
Yeah,
something.
right. Live at mudhole.com. Here we go. Yeah, I don't know if Bill has jumped in there to talk about it. Oh,
Joe Archer 71.
All right.
Love it, Joe. out of YouTube. MHX solid carbon rod kit of your choice.
Cool. And live at mudhole.com is how you claim it. What are we doing? Carbon ice rod kit. Cool.
Last but not least, we got to talk about guides.
Got to talk about guides.
I think guides are, blanks might be a little confusing. Handles can be tricky. Guides are pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, now I see a couple rods up here that do have ceramic rings. Mm-hmm. We'll leave that alone. For the most part.
Oh, yeah? You're anti...
yeah. In all of my
You're an anti-ceramic type?
In my expertise of ice fishing,
okay.
I tend to stay away from ceramic rings.
Yeah.
But no, seriously.
Floridians up here. Right.
Yeah.
Well, the only reason I would, in your defense, the only reason that I would say or you can stay away from them is because we have so many other good options.
Sure.
That you don't feel like, so now I have to use this instead of using these guys. That's the only reason,
of course.
In your defense.
Yeah.
So yes, go ahead.
Typically, with an ice rod, you want to go for a guide that has a non-ceramic ring, so meaning a stainless ring, whether it be, an SSR, I got a kit here, whether it be an SSR guide kit from CRB. This is going to have a stainless steel ring, which not only means that you do not have to worry about the ceramic possibly, cracking under the frigid temperatures when you're ice fishing, but also the inside diameter of your guide frame is going to be larger. Hence, you're going to have less buildup of ice.
Because a guide is measured based on the inside diameter of the frame.
Correct.
Not the ceramic or the material.
Correct. So, and also, another valid point, SSR guides are extremely lightweight. So you want to look for typically a guide that does not have a ceramic ring, and you want to look for lightweight guides because we are dealing with shorter rods, anywhere from, 20, mid-20s, upwards of 40 inches or so, 45 inches. These are very lightweight rods. They're not heavy. You do not want to add additional weight of a heavy ceramic guide. Now, if you're using like an LZR or, an American Tackle Nanolite, or, exactly like those, you can definitely go that route. Yep. But, again, in my opinion, why go that route and spend the extra money on a ceramic guide when you can go a more economical route like an SSR? You can also, like we showed earlier, and on this rod right here, we'll show again, recoil guides are very, very popular for ice fishing, specifically the ice version of the recoil guides.
Especially if it can get way, way down. Yeah.
Yes. Not only they're very durable, they do not have a ceramic ring, and they bounce back, which is a really cool feature. But like I mentioned, there is a standard version or just a normal recoil guide, and there's an ice version. Yes. So make sure if you are building an ice rod,
and it's very clear on the website.
Yeah, get the ice version,
yep.
Or else you might have some difficulty with those frames, not bending back like they should, or et cetera there. So, SSR guides. You can even go with even just standard wire fly guides. Mm-hmm. Traditionally have been used, but there
Those were wire flies out there on that REC.
Right at the end?
Yeah, because they were actually REC fly guides also.
Bing, right there.
Now, another tip that I know we talked about earlier is when you are choosing your blank and then matching the guides that go on this blank, you're going to end up in the predicament of the foot of the guide might be wider than the diameter of the rod blank.
Yes.
So, rapid guides on an ice rod are already incredibly fun and exciting, which I'm being very facetious. So they're actually quite hard. It's just the nature of the beast, right? So we would venture to say that if you choose something like an SSR or you choose something like a recoil guide, you got a better chance and it is easier to actually guide prep and file them down narrower. You know, not just guide prep where you angle the foot a little so it gets up on, but you can actually get that Dremel out, put that guide that does not have a ceramic in it. You can actually clip on, like with some hemostats, you can clip onto that guide ring and you don't have to worry about breaking out a ceramic ring. You can clip onto that frame and you can work on it with a Dremel tool and get it narrowed down so it does become easier to wrap on a very, very thin. Because what you don't want is you don't want your guide foot to be this wide and your blank to be like this, narrow and skinny. It's a mess. So you don't want this action here, right? Because then you're going to have all these gaps and stuff, and it will also want to do like this. So definitely get the Dremel tool out, spend that 49 bucks, and get that Dremel tool for sure.
And then let's talk about sizing. Did you have a question or anything over there? We good for now?
I think we're all right.
Okay.
I think we're all right.
Sizing. So, as I showed a few minutes ago,
Yes.
if you want to go with a kit, in my opinion, kits in not all cases, but a lot of cases are the way to go. We simplify things for you. There's no second guessing. For instance, the SSR guide kits come in sizing between, you either have starting with a size 20 down to 6s, or you start with a 16 and also go down to 6s. Size 6 running guides are the smallest running guide that I would recommend using on an ice rod. Anything below a 6, you're going to have an incredibly difficult time keeping ice out of your guide rings.
Yeah.
So I would stay at 6s or aboves. Some guys even go 7s, maybe even 8s, but don't try a 5. Do not go to a 4 or a 3. You're just really asking for a lot of trouble.
Right.
So,
well, and of course, like you can gauge that a little bit based on like where you're fishing. Like if you're fishing in one of these really, really cool heated ice shacks and you're not really going to worry too much about your guides icing over, go crazy.
sure.
Get tiny on there. But if you want to use that rod anywhere out in the wild, sitting on a bucket, you're probably going to have to use 6s at least.
Yeah.
Now, Hunter, I did have a question come up, and this is something we spoke about earlier, and we definitely are going to go ahead and address it now instead of during the Arctic blast of questions later. So, here we go. Abe, is super glue cheating to put a fly guide on the tip? Now, Abe, I'm not sure if you're talking about a guide right on a tip top or just out there on a tip. You know, super glue and rod building don't go all that great together, mainly because super glue can turn white and get real weird. But the SSRs can fix a lot of that headache because we have, how many models? Talk to us.
I can barely hold these things.
Yeah, right.
So in my right hand, I have an 8-ring with a, see? Yeah.
There he goes.
With a 2.5 tube.
Okay.
2.5 tube, which I do not believe, I'm not aware of any ice blanks that go down to a size 2.
No, I think,
Tip.
I think 2.5 is
2.5's kind of the lowest
you
point.
gotta stay steady there, Justin.
I know, well,
He's over
it's
there
a little tough here.
trying to breathe on the camera.
So in my right hand, the chrome version, the polished version, I have I have a size 8 ring with a 2.5 tube. In my left hand, which you can probably barely see, I have a size 6 ring, and I think this one has a 3 or a 3.5 size tube.
Oh, a 3, wow. Huge.
Yeah, right. All right, so I'm going to put these down so you guys don't have to focus on these little tips.
But I do believe
Anyway.
that they come in what? They come in a 6 and an 8?
So we do, in the SSR series, we do a size 6 ring and 8 ring.
Okay.
2.5, 3, and 3.5 size tubes.
Okay.
So you guys do not have to use the old traditional way of gluing like, a wire guide or wrapping or gluing a wire guide to the tip that acts as a tip.
Okay.
You can actually use a normal SSR tip to replace that.
Sweet. And then, if you want to add a spring bobber to one of those guys, you can wrap the spring bobber here with nail knots, okay? If anybody knows how to do a nail knot, I did 2 nail knots with a spring bobber because I didn't want to permanently wrap it on there. I also think we were out of spring bobbers and I had to go like buy more spring bobbers the next morning. So I just took a nail knot with some like 4 or 5 pound mono that we had and did 2 nail knots there. And this spring bobber has been on this rod for a while. The cool thing is on the top of the SSRs, there's a gap between the ring and the tube, and it has like a little, it's got like a little bridge. You can run the spring bobber through that and then run it here on the blank. There's, you can just see those 2 little nail knots that are holding that spring bobber, right? Now, let me show you the other way that we do that. If you are thinking enough ahead, you can also put some GT0 tubing, and we use guide tubing. You can also put some GT0 on there, run that spring bobber right up the back of that SSR. And here, I'm gonna see if we can hold it right there, don't move. See that little tiny gap there above the ring? That's that little like bridge that I was telling you about. It's a little gap there. So you don't have to go through the guide ring. You can go through that bridge and then you are perfectly even with the tube. And then you just stick it in this little GT0 here and then you're locked in. So if you don't know how to tie a nail knot, or you don't want to tie a nail knot, and you think enough ahead, or since you're actually using a real tip top and you're just using the hot melt tip top cement, you don't have to worry about not being able to get that tip off because you're using super glue.
Yep.
You just use hot cement, just the tip top adhesive like we have here. So you can then add you a piece of GT0 and get your spring bobber in there. So, tell you what, we're not too bad for some Floridians ice fishing. We soaked it up like a sponge before it froze when we were up there with Buzz Butters. What else? Do we have anything else? I mean, Todd Jensen was like, yeah, easier to put on, but I don't like them. Tell us how you feel, Todd. Tell us how you feel. Do we want to, are you good? Do you want to try to do some Q&A? We don't have a ton, but we got some Q&A.
Let's do another, you gonna do another blank?
A what?
Another V-line?
Oh yeah, let's go ahead and do one more blank.
So we got a third one?
This will be third blank. We'll do a giveaway, another V-line blank here, and then we'll get into kind of the final question series here, and we'll try to see what we can get. But yeah, let's go ahead and get them.
Spin it.
Yeah, spin it. Yeah, tick, 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 tick.
Mike Mills.
Well, look at
Yes, love that.
Love it. Mike Mills.
Facebook. It's kind of going back and forth between Facebook and YouTube tonight.
It's good. I think you know how your iPhone listens to you?
Yeah,
I think
it does
was.
that.
I think it was watching episode. What was it? 102. Was 102 last? Yeah, it was watching episode 102 where we were bad mouthing that it was
101?
only- Was it 101?
I think it was 101.
Was it? Yeah, this is 102. That's what I said, right? Sorry.
It's all the ice.
All this
It's getting
ice
to you.
has just got me got a brain freeze. So anyway, yeah, it was listening to the fact that, yeah, we had all Facebookers that night, right?
Something like that.
Yeah, and then we gave away a gift card to the YouTuber.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right, cool. All right, so we did that. Are we missing? I don't think we're missing anything here in terms of tips that we need to give away. All right, well, we're at an hour and 24 minutes. Let's go ahead and queue up. You want to, since it's getting so cold in here, it's time for Rapid Flurry Q&A.
Rapid Flurry Q&A.
That's great. Gotta let the guys show off every now and then. All right, put 7 minutes on the clock and we'll see what we got. This one right here is pretty good. Eric Vossler. Highly recommend using these on most V-line blanks. So, Eric, we just want to say thank you very much.
Absolutely.
For not only making a killer product, but it is really, really cool to see the manufacturer, the man in here, helping us out, answering some questions, interacting. And then there, he was talking about using the IRHT for most V-line blanks. And he actually agreed with me when I was talking about sizing it to it. So, you know, I feel like I'm part of the ice gang. Or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever you guys call yourself. The hard water hammer hitter something. Now, I left this one purposely for the 7-minute because I know how heated Hunter gets, and I didn't want to thaw through the ice.
Oh, God.
It's getting bad in here. Mark Barron, I'm guessing there's no need to spine an ice blank? Ba, ba, ba.
You know, I really want to do a topic on spine slash spline. That's my favorite. Or not, or just don't. You know, build on the straightest axis. You know, whatever you prefer.
Sure.
But we won't get into that today.
Yeah.
We'll save that
we
for
only
another
have 5 minutes and 41 more seconds, Hunter. So stop stalling.
You know, it's hard to answer that question, and we need a full episode. So
Do we? Okay.
Stay tuned.
Well, I'll answer it quickly. So I check them. The reason I check them, and then I will typically build on the spine, is because I like to spine blanks that I am using in a very like one directional type plane, okay, right? If we're bass fishing and I'm like roll casting and overhand casting and back casting and doing all those things, is spine that important? Probably not, because you're flexing it all over the place, right? If we are bottom fishing offshore, or I've been doing a lot of slow pitch jigging. Slow pitch jigging is going from 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock and letting it down. 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock. There is no need really for me to flex the rod. I'm not casting it. To me, and you can submit your complaints to live@mudhole.com. Yeah, your spline comments to Chris Adams, care of live@mudhole.com. But in my opinion, I do spine them, I check them, and I build on the spine because when I am dangling my little jig in that hole and a bluegill eats it, it's just one direction. He's coming up and he's going in the cooler or just right on the ice. So it's one way. So I am going to spine it because it's a one-dimensional, one plane usage. So there we go.
I like my answer much better.
You like your answer better.
Yeah.
Well, of course, you know, you're the credit card guy. So, here's a question from one of our winners tonight, Joe Archer. Sorry, it's a little touchy. Would a threaded reel seat be better for fighting bigger fish like lake trout?
Threaded reel seat?
Yeah, like one of these guys, like a real reel seat.
I mean, yeah, if you're, fishing for lake trout, big walleye, northerns, then yeah, you probably want to upgrade to a reel seat. But honestly, like, these bands are extremely, they'll hold a reel foot extremely tight to the handle. Yeah. So both work exceptionally well. But if you're a little, if you feel like you're under geared, go for a reel seat.
Because those bands are used for something ultra particular. And I would bet if those cows could talk, they would probably say that those bands are tight enough. And if you've ever tried to take and put those bands onto those handles, it is, I'm telling you, it is something else to get them on there.
Watch out.
They actually make a tool specifically designed for opening those bands and putting them on there. So, unless you're using like 20 pounds of drag on a lake trout, which I know you're not, I wouldn't be overly concerned about bands versus a threaded reel seat and things like that, because we got double band action going on there. That is not moving. I mean, on this inline reel, I have 3-pound Sunline Sniper, and I'm not running 3 pounds of drag on it, and there is no way that 3 pounds is going to pull that reel out from under one of those bands. Just not happening. What size reel should I use for ice fishing? This will be my first time.
Ooh.
Well, hopefully they take it easy on you. But
500?
Yeah. So this is a 1,000. This is too big. Okay. You see how little this is? This is a 1,000. We used 500s. And the reason that I have the 1,000 out here is just to show what a little spinning reel looks like and for show and tell. We used a 500. Did I say 5,000? No. This is a 1,000. We used a 500. We also used this guy. This is an Eagle Claw. I think they call it inline, right?
I think so.
I like this. The reason that I like this is because when the line comes out, it comes out straight. It comes out on the top of the spool, which is very unique, not down here like a fly. So you can actually use shorter stripper guides, or your first guide, I should say. You can use a shorter guide because the line comes out, this hair that's on here. The line comes out of the top of the reel. You reel it just like you would a bait caster. Justin, I'm sorry, man. I know I just got you all over this place. It just feels just like I'm just going to click off of it rather than Blair Witch Project this thing. So anyway, I'll maintain. Here we go. Drag knobs on the outside. Turn around here. You got a tension adjustment in here for your free spool, and then your free spool is this button here. Press it in, and it just free spools down, and then a little quarter turn puts it in gear. So these are not that expensive. I mean, really not that expensive. The drag is actually like quite smooth, and it keeps from introducing twist into this line when you're fishing those little jigs and stuff. I like that one personally. I fished the fly reel. I liked it for the novelty aspect, and like it did the same thing that the inline, because you can just like slowly pull out, and you can really be very like precise on changing your depth and stuff. And then of course for the fly reel is, yes, it's a 1-to-1, but I had a pretty good size arbor. So that bluegill came up pretty quick. But,
There you go.
So anyway, yeah, that was 7 minutes in heaven on the ice with Hunter and Chris.
On the ice.
Anyway, yep, an hour and 32 minutes. So if we didn't get to your question, we will do our best to, get to them. Shoot me an email if you got a pressing question, because some of you guys have done that, and we appreciate it. live@mudhole.com. We'll take questions. That is not just for prize giveaways and such. So, yeah, I think that's about it.
I say we do last giveaway
Yeah,
and throw in the last V-line blank.
that's going to be, yeah, because then, well, we're going to have to, yeah, that works. So we'll have an all-in-one ice. No, let's do two. Let's do a blank only.
Okay.
Let's do a blank only. Or you know what? Let's do a V-line, and then I'll put together the rest of the kit.
Okay. Make it a rod kit.
I'll make it a rod kit.
Let's do it.
So we'll do
SSR guides,
yeah, we'll throw
handle
in some
kit.
SSR guides, we'll do a handle, and then we'll do a V-line.
Yeah.
So let's do that giveaway first. So give me a V-line giveaway, and I'll make it a kit. Yeah, so
Roll it.
V-line with a combo meal, perfect.
Run up that credit card. Come on.
That's it. This one will be a good one.
Yep. Jared Goodson, another Facebook.
Coming at you. Figured we'd pile it on here for the good people at the end that decided to stay. We still have 295 people in here.
Love that.
Yeah, that's
We
great.
might have another little nice note to end on, so don't leave just yet.
Do we?
Yeah, maybe,
Yeah.
maybe.
Maybe if you don't win this last giveaway, don't leave.
Maybe. Hint.
All right, so live@mudhole.com, Jared, congratulations. All right, so let's do giveaway number 3.
Number 14.
Yeah, exactly. The all-in-one ice rod building kit. Cue that thing up again.
Do.
Did it freeze on?
Lucas Erickson, another
Nice.
Facebook. All right, I think Facebook took over tonight. Saw
Yeah.
a couple YouTube early on, but
It hurt us.
Facebook's shining through.
Yeah. Okay, so that's all-in-one ice. Sweet.
Cool.
Perfect. Awesome. Are we gonna do the roller thing?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Okay,
Cool.
so as a special gift for those watching that are still here,
You're still here.
and if you're interested in the CRB decal roller,
Yeah.
we're going to do a special discount code for the first 25 people This is limited to 25 only.
Okay.
You're going to get 10% off your purchase of the decal roller with code ROLLER10. ROLLER10.
Nice.
Roller 10.
That's it.
So, take advantage of that.
Cool.
First 25 people, limited to 25 only. Go check that out.
Yes.
That's our special gift to those watching tonight.
There you go. And we
take
wanted
advantage.
to do that at the end, so
Yep.
you guys can go ahead. All we're going to do is say our goodbyes. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We had our chicken nuggies in the green room tonight. So, of course, I think Sean was on YouTube tonight.
Okay.
So I think we had Sean Chaney on YouTube tonight. We, of course, had Jake. I saw him running around answering questions. I know Steve was in there answering questions. Birdman, of course. Cool Man was helping out, as always, and doing a bunch of the cool graphics. Like, you know, just because they don't always answer questions doesn't mean they haven't been busting their hump all week to make sure that we look like goofballs standing in the snow here on the show. But anyway, and of course we have Justin right there and Uncle Phil. Thank you for the ones and twos. My left-hand man, as always, Hunter McCamey. Guys, thank you again very much. And we're going to be doing something fairly spooky coming up. What are we doing? Episode 103? All right. Episode 103 is going to come to you in October. Whew, I can't believe that.
I can't either.
Anyway, so yeah, we've got a cool decorative show coming in October, and I can barely see the promos, so if you guys are still here, you're going to want to see what they've done to us again. So again, thank you so much for Monster Decorative Bills coming up, episode 103.
24th.
On the 24th of October. Holy moly. All right, everybody, thank you so much. We will see you in October on the 24th. Hope you enjoyed a couple Florida guys down here in 85-degree weather with it storming outside talking about ice fishing. So we might have to take you guys up on that. I saw some people inviting us up again. We might have to ship a case of bourbon up there and we'll get after it. So
I don't know.
yeah.
I'll let you go.
Yeah, right? I'll call you. I'll FaceTime you if the phone's not frozen. Guys, thank you so much again. And we'll see you for 103 next month.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.